Why aren't we going live? There we go. All right, we're live. Hi, everyone. I hope if you celebrate it, you're having a happy Easter. If you don't celebrate Easter, I hope you're having a great day regardless. This is David Bash, co-host of Material Issues. My regular co-host, Mark Hershberger, is working at his restaurant, mainly playing music for the patrons, and he's a really good. He actually is a very good vocalist and a great guitar player, and the customers love it. And today's Easter, so things are so busy at the restaurant that he just couldn't get the day off. But never fear, because we have a substitute co-host. That's awesome. I've known her for many years. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah. Sorry, without Mark here, I'm kind of lame. There we go. I probably should have done. I should have done this later.
It's perfect.
That's okay.
It's like raising a curtain.
I know, but I should. You know what? I'm gonna hold on. All right, now I'm gonna raise the curtain later. My co-host is someone I've known now for actually officially about 35 years, but she's only 39. So no, I've known her since she was a young ingenue, and her first album, Lost Winter's Dream, which is a classic pop Christmas album, had come out that year in 1990. And since then, she's recorded several solo albums with various bands like New Shoe, and is it the 7 and 6?
Yes.
7 and 6, and the Waking Hours. And in fact, her husband is lead singer of Waking Hours, Tom Richards. And while our guest was born and raised in LA, she and Tom and their family moved back to Virginia, where Tom's from, and that's where they are right now. And, she's still doing music, and she's raising some wonderful kids, and we're very glad to have her as a guest host. So without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Lisa Mychols. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, you're there. Excellent. Sorry, I'm not as savvy technically as Mark, so forgive my faux pas here.
You're doing great.
Or is that faux pas singular when you're talking about anyway?
Give it up for David Bash.
There you go. How are you doing, Lisa?
Doing good. So it's it's 8. It's around the 8:00 hour over here.
Yes, in Virginia. Did you have a nice Easter?
Yeah, we just I played a video game, and we worked on music. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Kept it quiet, but we did eggs today, but we didn't hide them this year.
Oh no. The kids were okay with that.
I think
we're okay with you not hiding them.
I think they're older.
Wait, how old are they now?
So Harrison is going to be, oh my goodness, 19 this year.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and Vivian is 15.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I guess they are. I thought they were still like 7 and 5. That's.
I do too. Too.
Yeah. No, it's wonderful. And let's see what else. Well, on my end, I'm going to be going to Chicago on Thursday night to start IPO there on Friday night. Rena's coming in with me for the first few days, which will really be helpful because I had back surgery at the end of December because I couldn't walk due to my back issues. They seem to have cleared up due to the surgery, but I just want to make sure when I really, tax my back lifting bags and all kinds of other things, plane ride, whatever, I want to make sure I'm okay. So it'll be good that Rena will be with me just in case I'm not. But I think it'll all be okay. I'm having more record shelves built. You may know the gentleman who's building them. In fact, His name's Eric Scotus. He was a drummer for Imperial Drag.
Oh, wow.
He's also a master carpenter, and the shelves are just about done. I think we're going to bring them into my record room on Monday. This is not my record room, by the way. This is my office that you're looking at right now.
What? Okay.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. So what's the difference between this room and the record room?
Well, the record room has most of my CDs and records, and vinyl, I should say. And right now there's tons of stuff on the floor, both vinyl and CDs, and I've got to get them off the floor. So we're putting extra shelves in. Once it's ready, I'll show it to everybody. But it's I mean, I've been collecting so much stuff that I ran out of room pretty quickly. When we moved here, I thought, all right, I had some shelves built against the walls, and I thought, well, that should hold me for a couple of years. That was it. So now it's time to expand. So that's going on, and other than that, everything's status quo. Rena's still working as hard as ever. Nobody works harder than her, I have to say. I mean, she barely sleeps, and when she's not. When she's awake, she's on her computer most of the time, and she's still able to help me do IPO. I mean, if there's ever been a superwoman, it's Rena Bardfield. I tell you, maybe she may actually come in and join us for a bit, but we'll see. But anyway, we have a guest to bring on, and like you, Lisa, I've known this gentleman for many years. Back in the mid 90s, I first saw his band, the Piper Downs, and they're so much fun. They've always been the most fun punk pop band around. Always gives you something extra, not just the songs, but stage presence, stage patter, lots of energy, the whole bit. And they were around the LA scene for many, many years, and they also played several shows around the country and even around the world. They were in Liverpool. They played IPO there. They were in Australia. They were in lots of different places. In the meantime, while all of this was going on, this guy was doing so many other things. For one thing, he put together a festival called Wheat from Chaff, a very cool festival right around the turn of the millennium. Did that for a few years. Then moved on to doing a show about food, which aired on the History Channel. And in fact, you can still find it on some streaming services in syndication. That's not it. We're not done. He actually opened and ran a restaurant, a gourmet restaurant in LA for a few years as well. So this is a true Renaissance man. Oops, what just happened to my picture? All right, are we back?
Yeah.
Something weird's going on. All right. I don't know what happened there. But anyhow, and while unfortunately the Piper Downs broke up because the rhythm section moved to Texas, he's not done doing music, not by a long shot. He's got a brand new record with his new band, Bobby Bognar's Handsome. The record is called And Then Some. It just came out. 8 really cool songs in, definitely in the power pop, a little bit of punk, a little bit of alt country on here too. It definitely screams out Bobby Bognar. There's no doubt about it. Very good record. I got to see this release party. I loved it. So he's here, and this should be fun. Without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Mr. Bobby Bognar. Hey, Bobby.
Hello. How's it going, Lisa? So good to see you, David. Great to see you.
Yes, thank you. Likewise, thank you so much for joining us. Did you do an Easter?
Yeah.
No, I don't celebrate. I'm sorry, I don't. My wife and kid are up north visiting grandma this weekend, and so I had the place to myself. So there was a whole lot of beer and ESPN and me screaming at the news.
And no doubt a lot of masturbation as well.
Not a lot. I mean, I'd say an acceptable amount.
Acceptable amount. All right. Well, That's certainly up to the individual, of course, as to what's acceptable. But
you're still an inspiration.
Very
Thank
much
you,
so.
Lisa. Thank you.
Yeah, Bobby is not. This weekend, Bobby was 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. But generally, lots of inspiration for somebody who have done as much as you've done in your life. You've got to be a special person. But
geez, Dave,
let's
so nice.
let's start when around the time Mr. Bobby Bognar was born. Where were you raised?
Well, I was born in North Carolina at Fort Bragg Army Hospital. My dad served in the Army back then. And then we moved to Germany, and my sister was born there.
Want to place your order?
What?
Ooh, someone's getting
Alexa must have heard. Alexa must have heard something that. Shut up, Alexa. Shut up. Okay.
So when I was 2, we moved to Germany. My sister was born there. Then when I was about 3, I moved to Miami, which is kind of where, I say I'm kind of was from, because it put into me the worst pain of my life, which is loving the Miami Dolphins for the rest of my life and having it affect everything in my life for the negative, primarily the last 20 years. And then I went to right where Lisa Mychols is sitting, not in that exact house, but I really grew up in Richmond, Virginia. And actually, I mean, you didn't say it in the intro, but I mean, I went to high school with her husband, and college or high school with Ricky, and college with Tom, and knew the Waking Hours. And we, for a very short time, even like my old band, Hanover Fisk, had a rehearsal studio right next to the Waking Hours. And so when they moved out to LA later on, it was really, it was like, holy shit, what a small fucking world, So, but amazing that you're in Richmond and I'm in LA now. That's just crazy to think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like you're thriving there. I feel like I'm thriving more here.
Sure. Well, I mean, wherever you thrive is great, and to be fair, just about, 90% of my life is pretty great right now. I'm in a beautiful creative zone that I've been craving for a lot of years. With Handsome has just been terrific. I've been doing a couple more solo shows. I've been writing more than I've done in years. I've done some stand-up lately. I'm writing a musical. Yeah. I mean, I'm really having fun with it. I got a 15-year-old boy named Max, who's awesome. My wife is awesome. Parents are good. So all that stuff is great. I did just recently find out I was getting laid off from my day job. So that part is not thriving, but everything else is pretty great. So, but Lisa, you saw me at my day job years ago when I ran the food services at the Getty Center. I remember you came in, and I served you there. And Dave, I think you came into the Point, didn't you, or no? My restaurant. Did you ever come to the Point?
I unfortunately didn't. I should have. I'm sorry about that.
Those recipes, I saw pictures on Yelp. They look so good.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I've just been doing food as my day job since I was 15 years old. I started washing dishes, and I've done everything through there, So the last 10 or 15 years, I run like multi-unit food service operations for. I've been at a movie studio the last 6 years. I was at a historical library and garden before that. The Getty Center Museum, so that's the kind of thing that I've been doing, and to keep the music stuff happening on the side.
Yeah.
Wow. I have to talk about the Miami Dolphins briefly. I'm a bit older than you, and I was brought up in New York. So in around 1971, the Jet fans were getting really obnoxious, mainly because of Joe Namath and how popular he was. And I couldn't stand him. So a friend of mine said, well, how about the Miami Dolphins? I mean, Bob Greasy's a genius. Don Shula is an amazing coach. That was right when he, about the time he had gotten there. So why don't you think about, being their fan? And I said, yeah, why not? And they're also rivals of the Jets. So that made it even better. Since 1971, I've been a fan of the Dolphins, and obviously early on that was a lot of fun because they were going to Super Bowls, they won a couple of them, and they remained really good. And then Dan Marino came by, and that was exciting. But yeah, as you mentioned, they haven't been in a Super Bowl since January of 1985.
Yeah, and we got beat down in that one.
They got beat down badly, yeah. You know, for a team that good to have so many lean years is just, yeah, it's very
It's so painful. And like your friend said, oh, why don't you switch teams? And you were able to switch teams, which is awesome. I wish I had that in me. I tell my parents every year, why did you curse me with this? When I was a kid in Miami, my dad was going to the University of Miami, and the Dolphins practiced on the University of Miami field. So we would walk over there and watch the Dolphins practice. And it's not like today where these guys make, shit tons of money. Back then, they were all selling cars in the summers and stuff like that to make it work. So we would go out to the deli and we'd see star players. We'd see Larry Zonka sitting there.
Wow.
We'd see players out. And it really just got to me because I knew that was the best team of all time to that point. And to this day, let me remind you all New England fans, best team of all time, the only ones to do it undefeated the whole way. And that really stuck with me. And so, yeah, the pain that goes along with that is as bad as anything I've ever experienced. But before I die, I'm really hoping they come through for me one time.
Well, you know what? You don't want to switch a team because they're not doing well. The Jets were actually doing pretty well when I switched. I couldn't stand the fans. You're in school all the time and they're just acting obnoxious and name it this and name it that. And the Giants just sucked at that time. So I didn't want to switch to them. So yeah, fortunately you're right. I did have a friend and I switched the honorable way, not because the team was bad, but because there was a good reason to switch.
A reason for it, right? Yeah.
So
see,
anyway,
I just feel like I'm in an abusive relationship I can't get out of.
No, don't and yeah, stay abused. I'm not switching. I don't care how long they're bad. Unless I find out that they're all Trump fans, then maybe I will.
Oh, jeez.
So we don't need to go there.
Politics.
We don't need to go there. We'll leave it at that. But let's talk about your upbringing as it relates to music. Were your parents musical at all? And how did you get into it?
We always had a piano. My dad played piano and is very good. And we had a talk last year actually where I said, "Oh my God, I miss hearing you play." He didn't play too often. He played by ear and he was excellent. And I told him that, and he said, "Oh, I just thought I was kind of annoying you with it. I didn't know that you liked it." And it's actually made me play more for my kid. And Max, my son, is now playing guitar and really getting into music, and that's super exciting. And my mom was a singer, and we sang in church and that kind of thing. And my mom had a classical guitar that she learned 4 chords on, and then it was just in the closet. And I pulled it out and got a book and just started teaching myself. So I'd say we were musical in that we sang and stuff, but no one wrote songs. No one performed outside of our living room. But we loved music. And, my parents came up in an age where all of our records were like musicals. Like we had the soundtrack to Jesus Christ Superstar and Fiddler on the Roof. And my mom had Sing Along with Mitch Miller albums and stuff like that. And we had Meet the Beatles. And that was like the one rock album that we had. And so when that's your initiation, Meet the Beatles isn't too bad a one to start with,
Did you really like it right off the bat?
Oh God, yeah. Oh, I still, it's so funny. Those stupid little 3-minute songs, I've never gotten tired of them, and I've heard them a billion times. There's plenty of other Beatles stuff that I don't need to hear again, but I could listen to that early stuff all day long.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm not at the point where I don't want to hear any certain Beatles songs ever again, or don't care if I do or don't. But yeah, I mean, that early stuff, it's just, it's so immediate that you can't divorce yourself from that, not at all.
So then in high school, the usual thing, I was a singer, I was in choir and in drama and everything, and a band had a singer that was terrible, and they heard me sing and they say, "Hey, would you sing instead?" And I said, "Sure." And we played like one party, and that was my run there. And I realized, I started playing with a buddy of mine named Mike LaRue, who was writing songs at 16 or 17. And my mind was blown. He was the first guy I knew that was creating something out of nothing artistically. And I still love some of those songs. I mean, I still think about some of those songs from high school. And we played together in a band called Hanover Fisk for about 9 years. We got a little record deal out on the East Coast and started touring and stuff. And we broke up on stage. And it was one of our biggest shows. We were playing to 900 people.
Wow.
And my guitar player and I got in a fight on stage, and he took off his guitar, threw it on the ground, and said, "I don't want to play with you guys anymore," and walked off stage. And it was like, it was horrible. I mean, that kind of thing would never happen to me now, but at the time it was like we got 3 songs down. So then the rest of us on stage tried to play another 1 or 2, and then we just gave up and walked off stage, and that was the end of this thing. And it was so sad, and my heart was so broken. I called in sick to work for the next 2 days because I was just so destroyed. I really thought it was
relationship.
It was, and when you're 21 or something, you've been playing with these guys for 6 or 7 years, it's like, oh God, it hurts so bad. And I came home, and like, I don't and exactly how it worked, but like within a week or 2, my girlfriend and I had broken up, and my roommate's girlfriend and him had broken up, and the band had broken up, and I was just miserable. And I said to my buddy Bill, "Hey, what do you want to do? Let's get out of here. Let's move to LA." And so 8 weeks later, we moved to LA. I had $200. My dad gave me his Exxon card so I could fill up with gas on the trip out. And
wow,
35 years later, I'm out here. I've got a nice place, a beautiful wife, a great kid, and I'm still making music. Whereas a lot of the guys from my past aren't anymore, And so I'm really grateful for how it's turned out.
You and Lisa can certainly relate, not to bring up bad memories, but her band, the Masticators, more or less broke up on stage at IPO. We were doing a show at one of the amphitheaters in Orange County. And, the show, Lisa punctuated the show by taking a guitar that her bandmate Robbie had given her and smashing it to the ground. I'd never seen Lisa do anything like that. That's my memory. Am I incorrect about any of this?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. And same with us. We had a label, Red Lava Records in New York that were interested in us. So it was like we were like going up, and it just went. Meh.
Yep.
Yeah, people still talk to me about that. In fact, there are actually people who say that the LA pop scene ended at that moment, which I think is crap. But
yes, it is. And I've had this discussion with Tom. You guys will probably agree. Every scene has this. We just happen to be in the moment that things were going that way. But it is funny. Yeah.
Oh, no, believe me, Lisa, I know all about it. There are people who still think that IPO broke up the LA pop scene. And I always like to say I'm the Herbert Hoover of pop, because like he was blamed for the Depression, which would have happened even if he was never born. I'm blamed for a pop scene that was falling apart anyway. And I just happened to be there, I happened to be there at the time.
Right.
How do you remember it, Bobby?
Yes, Bobby.
Remember what? IPO?
Well, not IPO. The pop scene in general, the late 90s. Piper Downs were certainly part of it. You probably, you guys were playing around the time Poptopia started, and you knew all the bands. And at that time, the scene seemed like it was just thriving, fruitful.
We were a family. All of us were like a family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I'll tell you that my memory of it isn't that we were necessarily part of that scene. I wanted to be friends with everybody in that scene so bad, and I didn't always feel welcome all the time. And where we were welcomed was at metal shows. It was like the dying gasps of the 80s metal guys in the Valley when we first started playing. And the metal guys really embraced us for some reason. And I don't know why, but, because, we weren't.
You weren't metal.
But we also didn't have any of the attributes of metal guys. Like we weren't, shredders, or we weren't anything like that. But I think we put on a show, and I think they appreciated that. And so when I got into that, my first exposure to like the pop scene was being turned down by Tony Perkins for Poptopia, saying, he told me that we just sounded like an everyday bar band, and he didn't want to play it. And I was so disappointed. I was like, oh, I love these people. This is where I want to be, And so I was so flattered when then eventually we started getting into it. And, I have so many great memories with Lisa. Lisa, I don't know if you even remember half the times that you and I have hung out, but I still remember singing You May Be Right, I May Be Crazy by Billy Joel with you.
Yeah.
I remember.
I remember that. And we discussed it beforehand. Oh.
Yeah, it was great, you know. And I think you played with the Piper Downs at one of the shows at We From Chaff or something. You came up and did a cover with us. Yeah, and I loved it. And like the Andersons were my guys, like musically, like I just absolutely loved them. And then, you know, falling in love with Double Knot Spies and Masticators and all of those guys. It was so great when you realize that this group of people cares a lot about the song, you know. Like to me that's the thing, is the song. And when you went to an IPO show or a pop night at Hollywood Moguls or something like that, you knew at least you were getting good songs. You knew that you were getting good songs, you know. And so, you know, as we were coming up, you know, I only have one guitar setting. You know, I don't use any pedals. I don't do anything. And just whatever song comes out of me is the song we're going to play next, right? So it wasn't like I was crafting my sound to fit in with that group. But luckily I found a home with these people, and I'm still friends with many of them. You know, many of these people I'm still friends with to this day. And like, I haven't seen Lisa in years, but boy, I feel like we could sit down and have a beer right now and have a great talk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You definitely could. Yeah.
And then coming out of that scene, you know, now Handsome, you know, Norman Kelsey from Bat Country is my bass player. This is something we've talked about doing for a long time, and having that history with him, you know, has been wonderful. And the drive now is very different than it was before. That, you know, the drive now is write good songs and bring joy to the world during your shows, you know. And there's no competition, there's none of this, and it's give and take with the guys, and it's wonderful. Now, I mean, I will tell you that again, my heart was broken horribly 9 years ago when the Piper Downs broke up. We did it about right, you know. We were together for 21 years. It was the week of our 21st anniversary. I think our first show was like August 10th of 94, and then we broke up on like August 13th or something of, you know, 21 years later in 2015. And we planned it out. You know, Yell and Ellen, my bass player and drummer, got married. They had a couple kids, and they decided to move to Texas for a job. And we said, well, let's send it off for real. You know, let's do an album release, a 21st anniversary show, and a breakup show all in the same night. And, you know, I've played, I think, ballparky 1,500 shows maybe in my life, and that one still stands out as the best show I ever played. Not only was it beautiful and community and sending off something that meant so much to me, but I played well for once, which was nice. And so many bands have that flame out or the drizzle out instead of a real send off to something that's important to people. And so I think it was really great for the band and the fans that we got to do it that way. And so 9 years later, you know, really, it's 2 years ago is when I said, I want to be rocking again, because I've been playing acoustic shows all this time. And my brother and I have a country band called the Bognar Brothers, but he's less interested in playing out now. And I said, God, I miss rocking. And I told my wife, I miss cranking it up, and I want to do this now. And she said, well, why don't you just do it? So I thought about it for a second. I said, yeah, just start doing stuff. And so I booked a show for 8 weeks from then. And then I wrote all the songs, and then I put together the band. And so in 8 weeks, I went from zero to a full set of music with this new band that now I'm just in love with, and I'm just having the best time with. And then my mantra for the last few years creatively has been just do something. You know, sit down with a guitar and put something down, even if it sucks. You know, either it'll give me another idea for something else, or it'll clear some garbage out. And then every once in a while I sit down and I go, holy shit, it's back. You know, I got a song again, you know. Were you going to say something, Lisa? I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I wanted to actually ask how the Piper Downs got together, the band members, as well as your band members now.
Okay, so I moved out to LA actually to be an actor. I was an acting major in college, and that's something that I had always wanted to do. I will tell you, I mean, I never talk about this, but I'll tell you now that it's still a dream of mine to do some work in acting again. But I moved out here with my buddy Bill, and I had a guitar and I had written songs. And so I was just playing open mic nights to meet people, you know, just to see people. And in the first month I was here, Music Connection did a review of one of my shows, and I literally was talking to my mom on the phone. Call waiting comes in. It's Mercury Records saying, "Hey, we read this review in Music Connection. We'd love to hear some rock demos from you." Da 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 da. And I said, "Sure, you got it." Not having a band, not knowing anyone in LA, and so I called my buddies who I went to college with, Yell and Garner. They were acting majors with me at school, and I said, "Hey, I've got a major label just calling me and asking me for something. This is going to be easy. The rest of our lives is going to be easy. You know, if I fly back to Richmond, can we spend a couple of days? Will you learn these songs? Can we record them and put them down?" And we were friends of friends with David Lowry from Cracker, and he had a studio in Richmond. And so I flew back. We spent a couple of days rehearsing it. We spent 2 days recording the first record, which ended up being called First Time. And I came back to LA and started sending this thing out, thinking, okay, I'm set. You know, they're calling me. This is going to be easy, right? And of course, nothing happened, right? You know, I talked to a bunch of major labels real early, and nothing came of it. But after a few months, Garner and Yell called me up and said, "We had such a good time doing that. We'd like to move to LA and be your band." And I said, "Okay, yeah, sure. You can sleep on my couch."
That's wonderful.
Da, da, da. And a few months later, they were living out there. And Ellen, Yell's girlfriend, came with us too. She wasn't musical at all. She was just the girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, I could go through the litany of drummers we went through, but long story short, at the end, you know, Ellen said, "If I learned to play drums, could I be the drummer for the Piper Downs?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, number one, you're dating my bass player, so I can't have a girlfriend in the band. And number two, you can't hit hard enough. I need a hard-hitting drummer." And she basically said, "Fuck you." And
did she say 1, 2 first?
1, 2, fuck you. And she, you know, Garner taught her how to play drums. Because Garner is an amazing drummer. I don't know if you remember him playing drums, but Garner's
amazing. I've seen him in Trainwreck, so I know.
Yeah, right. Well, he played with the Andersons at the House of Blues one time, and he's played with, I think he did a set with Double Knot Spies before. I mean, he'll sit in with anybody, you know.
Yeah.
He's awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I agree.
But he wanted to play guitar, and so he taught Ellen how to play, and she ended up being the biggest rock star of any of us. She's the one that got endorsements with Pork Pie and with Zildjian and with Vic Firth Sticks. She's the one that had little girls dressing up with her pigtails and pink hair to come out to shows. And she was awesome. And she, you know, she was really important to the band for a lot of years. But, you know, I'd say the first 10, we played with Garner on drums and other people on drums. And then the last 11 or so, I'm making it up, was Ellen. And I wouldn't have traded it for the world. She was the best.
Yeah,
she really was amazing, and and also, I mean, some of your songs actually feature Ellen on drums. You got that good. Now, for those who don't know, during Piper Down sets, Bobby would randomly say, "This song features Ellen on drums," which of course all of them did. But I used to love that. What was God? I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you, who have you opened for in the Piper Downs that that you just couldn't believe that you got a gig with?
I mean, we don't have a ton of those. You know, the ones that like meant something to me weren't the hugest bands, right? Like the Figs. We got to play with the Figs, and if you know the Figs, they're like incredible, and they've been around for almost 40 years now. So the Figs, I played with CeCe DeVille from Poison. I played with Dramarama. I mean, Smithereens.
Oh wow,
those are good.
Peter Case. You know, we never got to that next level of doing that stuff, and it always bothered me because Matthew Sweet. I opened for Matthew Sweet one time. That was amazing. Yeah, but I wish I had lots more. I played with, so I'm lying. I have other ones. Alice in Chains, Sammy Hagar and Tommy Lee. We opened up for them in Cabo San Lucas twice. I just told the story the other day. So we go down to Cabo San Lucas and we're opening up for Alice in Chains and Tommy Lee and Sammy Hagar and Cabo Wabo. And I brought a huge trunk of merch, just praying I could sell anything, because carrying merch to a show and not selling anything is just the worst, right?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
we were booked for 2 nights, and at the end of our first set, this guy comes up to us and says, "How much for the shirts?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know if they were $15 or $10 or whatever it was." And he said, no, how much for all of them? And I said,
wow,
What?
$2,300. I just made up a number. I just said $2,300 for all of them. The guy pulls out a wad of $100 bills, counts out $2,300 bills, hands it to me, takes all of our stuff, and just starts handing it out to everybody in the club.
oh my God.
Oh, I love that.
Is that a story or what? And then the next night, I had 0 merch.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but it was awesome. That was one of those dream things. That trip was probably the most rock and roll trip we ever had, because they flew us out. We had a driver, we had a hotel, we were partying with rock stars, out of the country. That was a really wonderful week we had there.
I was next going to ask you, what was your favorite country to play in? Probably Mexico. Now that with that story,
for sure. But no, playing in America rules, man. I mean, and we toured a lot in the States.
Yes,
we toured a lot, and we had shows. I had one show where I played to literally no one. We were in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and the first snow of the year came. And we get up on stage to play, and it's the bartender and the doorman. And after we played 2 songs, the doorman calls out, "Hey, do you want to quit? Do you still want?" And we said, "We drove here. Let's just finish our set." Yeah. And then another time we show up in Oklahoma City, and there's 1,200 people there, and they loved it. And we sold tons of merch, and we got lots of kids excited about it and stuff. And, I'd just say the comfort level of playing in America is the best. But, I mean, we played in Australia a few times. We played in England at least 3 times. I think we went to England 3 times, twice for IPO and then once for something else. But yeah, the bulk of our touring was in the US, and it was great. Good time.
No, I can imagine. I don't know why this memory sticks with me, but you came out to Chicago one time to play IPO. And this isn't about your IPO show. It's about another gig that you had later that night at Wise Fools Pub, which happened to be one of the IPO venues. So I thought, why don't I think I have time to at least see the beginning of your show there, so I'll go. And you guys are doing a bit of a line check, and the sound engineer, who I knew well, said something like lead guitar. Oh, no, he said stage left guitar, whatever it was, and you started playing. And then he goes, "Okay, now the guy with a real guitar." I don't know why. I just knew his sense of humor, and that's. And you're probably saying he's a wise ass musician. That guy's definitely a musician.
Well, look, you both have seen me on stage enough times to know that I love busting balls, and I also love having my balls busted. Like, I love to give it and I love to take it. So that shit never bothers me. I don't remember it. I mean,
I'm sure it was nothing to you.
There are 1,000 times where people saw me be a super dick to a sound guy, in the hopes that he knows, hey, we're just fucking around. And most of the time, sound guys are bitter enough that they get it, Every once in a while,
they do.
Every once in a while, you rub people the wrong way. But shit talking is one of my favorite things to do. And
you were one of the few people who played IPO, with whom I had a comfort level that, that allowed me to, to kid around with you on stage. Yeah. I mean, there are other bands I knew as well as you, but I would never do that to them because they would think either I was being serious or I was being completely inappropriate, and they wouldn't have taken it well. But I knew you would. So it was always a lot of fun to have you there, beyond the fact that I really liked your music, but to be able to do that on stage was always fun.
Yeah, you were always so kind to us. I really appreciate it. I was super grateful that you liked us enough to book us and to have us at the other venues and stuff. It really made a huge difference. And I think about when I talk about, just doing something, right? I mean, how many relationships, how many memories do just the 3 of us have from what you built from IPO, And the truth is that really, literally thousands and thousands and thousands of musicians have great memories, primarily from the IPO stuff. And, a few have gross memories. But
Lisa has at least one, yeah.
What a legacy.
She has good ones too, though.
And I love when people have a story that meant something to them. They saw me play in New York 25 years ago, and they remember this one thing that I did. And it just, that always makes me feel so good. And I think that you saw it at the last Handsome show that, really the whole idea of community around live music is so important to me. And that's what I'm always trying to build in the room.
Oh, I've always been able to tell that. And that's yet another reason why I loved having you at IPO. Do you remember, this is funny because you mentioned Nick earlier. One time you guys all came out, Piper Downs played IPO Chicago, and I gave Nick a slot as well. And I'm introducing him on stage, and, I said nice things about him. And then all of a sudden something hit me. So I said, would you please give a huge welcome to the second most talented member of his family, Nick Box. I saw all of you guys out there cracking up. And it was
oh yeah. Well, that's great for me. Nick hates that. That's, and the thing that sucks about Nick, not much, he's great, is that his songs are so good. And I feel like he is depriving the world of these songs that he doesn't want to play out anymore. It's like, he's so good. Nick has songs, there's a handful of people out there. There's the huge guys. There's the Beatles and stuff. You go, oh, I could never touch that. I'll never write an Abbey Road. I'll never do a Piano Man. I'll never do any of that kind of stuff. But there is a handful of guys that, I came up with that I'm jealous of their writing. And Nick is one of those. He has songs that just blow my mind that I just couldn't have ever come up with. And that always drives me bonkers. He's excellent.
I'm sure he feels the same way. Speaking of songs, it's very obvious you're really proud of this new album. So why don't we play it? We'll start with the opening track of the album. My feeling is there's a reason a band picks a track to be their opening track. So I always, if there's a new album, I almost always play that one. So we're going to play a tune from And Then Some called Brave, the opening track on the album. Here we go.
You left behind last spring, messages and memories and countless other things. Of all the times I tried to find a way to get you back, I think I am still wounded from your perpetual attacks. The countless revelations, the sense of new sensations, when all I ever wanted was to be brave. Give me a chance to be brave. I'm not who I want to be. Brave, I'm trying to change your mind. Brave, give me a chance to be brave. I'm not who I want to be. Brave, it's harder for me when I try.
It's such a sing along.
Yeah, what a hook! What a hook! That's that hook just sticks in your head. How can it not?
Thank you.
Music,
I wonder why it was
video. Huh?
I said, I wonder why it was first on the album. I want that hook in your head at the beginning. You know?
Yeah, well, see, that's I mean, again, there are numerous reasons why somebody chooses a song and to open their album, and that certainly is as good a one as any. When you wrote these new songs, did you have the Piper Downs in mind on any level, or didn't even think about it?
Well, you know, on any level, yes, for sure. But again, every song that came out of me for the Piper Downs was the next song, and every song that comes out of me from Handsome is the next song. So it wasn't, there was never a conscious like, oh, this sounds too much like the Piper Downs, or this doesn't sound enough like the Piper Downs, or anything. It was nothing like that. It was always like, you know, what's the best song I can write, and how will I make that sound? And specifically, like with Brave, you know, I was hearing that female voice in there in my head, and I knew that was different, right? That's something the Piper Downs never did. And I think the cool thing about Handsome is I get to experiment a little bit more with sounds in the studio, specifically. You know, the Piper Downs had to sound like the Piper Downs, and Bobby Bognar's Handsome kind of gets to sound like whatever we want it to sound like. And that's a pretty cool, freeing thing. What I will say is that there were a couple of things, like a couple of bits that I wrote in the Piper Downs that never made it to full songs, and a couple of those are now being incorporated into some of these. Not anything on this record specifically, but on other stuff we're working on. And every once in a while, I'll say, "Oh no, that's the hook. I stole that from Damn You from the Piper Downs," or something like that. You know, oh shit, I can't do that again. I did that in Hardcore. You know, so every once in a while it comes up, but you know, it's not. I'm not trying to be any different than the Piper Downs. I'm just trying to do the best thing I can do in front of me right now.
I see.
And
Let's go ahead. I'm sorry, Lisa. Go.
The band. I wanted to ask about the band members. Now, you said Norm Kelsey.
Yeah, Norman Kelsey plays bass. Jason Rarick is my drummer. He was one of the original Piper Downs drummers that came in as the fourth man after Garner stopped playing. So I've been playing with him for over 30 years. Ian Robbins is my guitar player. It's a tool I've never had to play with before. He is a master. He's a masterful guitar player. He's mainly a jazz guy, but he does metal and punk and all kinds of stuff. He's a guitar instructor. He plays with these huge, heavy jazz guys. And so what I will tell you is that the biggest difference in the sound from the Handsome to the Piper Downs is that Handsome has crazy guitars on it. And it's every once in a while, I just tell Ian, I want this to be the biggest thing you can possibly come up with. And it's shit that blows my mind. And it's just a cool tool. And then So Long?
Yeah, is that him?
Yeah, that's him. So you've heard it. Oh, I'm so flattered you listened to it, Lisa. Yeah, that's him. So Ian played lead on all those. And then Jedra De La Luna, who used to be in a band called Jed. And she's someone that she's just been a friend of mine for years and years. She's an incredible singer. She had this band that I really love to go see. And actually she flew down to Cabo to see us open up for Tommy Lee and all those guys, you know, and we were social then. And when this came out, I said, I'm hearing your voice. Any interest in coming out of retirement and singing a little bit? And now she's the fifth member of the band. She's at all the shows. She sings backup with us. And if you like So Long, she has a big part on So Long. But yeah, So Long might be the one I like the best on the record, like just listening to, you know. Oh,
wow. I'm glad Lisa mentioned it because that wasn't one of the ones I chose to play. But
I like them all.
No, I know. It's a way to get a fourth song in there. But
there you go.
Speaking of Jedra, and I love the 6 degrees of separation stuff here when I do this show. The first time I ever saw Jedra play was at a festival called Wheat from Chaff. And of course that was yours. What was the motivation for starting Wheat from Chaff?
I think I saw what you were doing. I think I saw what Tony was doing. And I said, I think I can do that. And I did it. And that was it, really. I mean, it was awesome. You know, Lisa, I still remember you at that first show we did at the Pinot, on that patio at Pinot Hollywood, where you guys played. but I just had lots of friends that I wanted to get some exposure to, and I wanted exposure. And it's so hard in Los Angeles to be a part of anything bigger than just your band, because it's so hard to get your 25 people out to see you. It's so hard to get the 50 people out to see you. If you have a big show, you need 100 people, and that's all you care about. And so when you can build it into a community again, and where we all help each other, it's great. And so like I knew the Masticates, I knew lots of these bands from IPO, but then there were also lots of bands that weren't pop bands that I loved.
Yes.
That I wanted.
I was going to say your festival was way more eclectic than mine. I mean,
right.
I think I saw a hip hop band there.
Oh, we had several hip hop bands. We had metal bands. The ones that I remember, there was a hip hop band called Project Butterfly that I absolutely loved. There was a Dig This was a funk and hip band, and I just saw Day was at my album release party. Super Day from Dig This was there a couple weeks ago, and that guy's songs blew my mind. There was a metal band called Lord of Destruction or something that blew me away. Raising Sun was a metal hip hop band. Michael Denver was like a folk artist who blew my mind. I don't know if you remember Michael Denver, but that guy's songs I still listen to his stuff from 30 years ago regularly. And then plus I had the pop band. So it was a nice way to kind of blend it all in. And you just don't know what you can do until you try it. And so why not try it? So we did it for 3 years. Mike Simmons from Sparkle Jets UK was really important to that thing. He did all the design work for our programs and albums.
Mike's awesome. What a talent.
He's awesome.
On so many levels.
And Sparkle Jets UK are back together now and doing it again. Their new album is incredible. And, I'm so happy when I see these people still do it, because like my brother is awesome and doesn't want to play out anymore. So that doesn't hurt my feelings. I mean, it hurts my feelings as a fan, but not, but when I see people who go, oh, I wish I was playing. I wish I was still doing it. I can't believe you're still doing it. That kind of stuff. I just go, man, just do something. Just do it.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
It'll make you happy just to get it done.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I was very impressed with Wheat from Chaff. One thing I was impressed with was that you got to the Hard Rock. I mean, I would have loved to have done an IPO show there. I didn't really try because their hours wouldn't have been the hours we wanted exactly.
Right.
But man, that was such a great room, and and of course the history and everything. I thought
the Hard Rock
so
Cafe
cool
was just always very good to us. We played a lot of Hard Rock cafes, and that one in Beverly Hills was wonderful to us. And
yes,
I mean, that they were kind enough to have my guitar as part of the permanent collection.
Oh yeah.
And so I had a guitar on the wall there. And then when it got torn down, I was like, oh my God. So actually I've been in touch with Hard Rock Cafe in the last 6 months actually, and it's still in their permanent collection. And I said, look, can I get it back up on my wall? Can I have it? Or can you put it up somewhere else? And they said, oh yeah, we're opening a new one in Southern California in 2025. And we're going to try to get it up on the wall there. So there's a chance that it'll be back on display. But yeah, we played the Hard Rock in London, Chicago, Vegas.
Wow.
A couple others I don't remember. But yeah, they were always very good to us.
Oh, that's cool.
That is really cool. So, all right. So then suddenly I find out that you've got a show on the History Channel about food. How in the world did that happen?
I used to watch it.
Wow. It's so crazy. They keep adding it to different streaming services now. So like I saw it on Apple, I saw it on Amazon, I saw it on Hulu. I know it's still on Hulu, and it's still on Apple. And then my wife works for Disney, and she said it's on the Disney streaming. I mean, I don't get any residuals for it, but that thing is still on, 15 years later. You want to hear the story how I got that show? It's a great
Absolutely.
one. I was at work and I was looking at a restaurant review site called Chow Hound, and it's just restaurant reviews. And, I'm in the restaurant business, so that's what I was looking at. And I saw one that said, hey, History Channel is looking for a foodie or a chef to host a special, send in your information if you're interested. So I sent in my, hey, I'm interested. I'm a foodie. I'm a restaurant guy. I didn't hear anything for weeks. And then I get a call saying, hey, fill out this form and we'll get back to you if we want you. So I fill out this form, and then they call me up and they say, hey, would you be interested in auditioning? And I said, sure. So never done any television before. And so they said, prepare 15 minutes on a food item and just speak to the camera for 15 minutes. So I prepared 15 minutes on peanut butter and jelly, the history of peanut butter and jelly. I walked in there. I was sweating. I was so nervous. I still talk to the casting director, and she says, "You were the sweatiest guy I ever saw in my whole life. You were so nervous." You know, she still remembers that. And I did my 15 minutes. Then they called me back again and said, do 5 minutes on peanut butter jelly. Now just so I did. So I go back to that second callback, and you know, she says, "Hey, it's down to 6 guys. You know, you're one of the guys, and you know, they want you to shoot a segment." So I went to a dairy. I spent a day in a dairy, and I shot a fake segment that never aired. And eventually they called me up and said, "Hey, we need to get in touch with your agent because it looks like this is going to go through." And I said, "I don't have an agent." And she said, "Well, how did you hear about the audition?" And I said, "I saw it on Chowhound." And she goes, "No, you didn't." And I said, "Yeah, I did. I was at work. I answered the thing. Da 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 da." And she goes, "Not 5 minutes after I posted that, I got an email from Chowhound saying, 'We're pulling it down and don't post anymore because this is a restaurant thing.'" She said, "Not only were you the only one to respond to that, you might have been the only one who saw it."
Wow.
And so
Wow.
it was originally just supposed to be a 1-episode special on food. And so I took 2 weeks off from work and went and shot the first episode. And before I was back, they had ordered 2 more. And then in the next 2 months, they ordered the whole season. So I quit my job and I was a TV host for a couple of years. And it was magic. But it was one of those things where it's like, there was this much of a window and I just did it. And if I had put it off, it wouldn't have been there the next time I logged in. It just happened. And because of that, I was able to open my own restaurant. I did other TV stuff, although that was Food Tech was my only series. But I did other TV stuff. I did a lot of like celebrity in quotes, you know, like judging of barbecue competitions and shit like that.
Oh, wow.
I got flown down to Puerto Vallarta for a food festival where they put me up for 4 days. And my whole job was going around and eating food and telling people what I thought of it. It's a pretty good gig.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. It was a really wonderful thing. And the fact that it came out like it did was fantastic. And then the week my show debuted was the week my son was born. And so it was like,
wow.
It was a crazy time.
I certainly, when I found out about the show, I said, well, Bobby's a natural for this. I mean, because it's just your stage presence doing Piper Downs shows. I knew that you would be able to entertain an audience.
Well, there's not many things I can speak intelligently about, but food is one of them, right? So if you put me in a factory, I'm going to be able to know what's going on and be able to talk to you about it, right? Now, if we go into a car show, I'll be lost. But food, I can talk to you about all day.
Smells nice.
Food, Miami Dolphins, music, and words like obfuscate.
Yeah, obfuscate, yeah. I still remember the first time I played that song, I think was at an IPO show. It was You Don't Know What You Want. And you said something like, "Oh my God, you used the word obfuscate in that song?"
Yeah, I'd only seen it in a book once before that, and I had to look it up at that time, and I never forgot what it meant. So then when I heard you do it, it was like, wow, that's impressive.
Now I can use it. Yeah. Let me tell you a word thing. So I'm a word guy, and I will tell you I have this in that same song. There's a lyric where I say, "Please don't tell me you're just cautious. All your lies just make me nauseous." And when I came up with it, I was so proud. And my stupid brother, Nick, after I played it for him, because I was like so proud of it, he just goes, "It should be nauseated."
I knew that was coming. Yeah. I know, really.
I didn't change it.
Fuck you. Yeah. Yeah. And then of course the story I love telling when.
I know what you're going to do.
You know what I'm going to do. We were talking about bands that you were on a bill. Well, I specifically bands you opened for. I'm trying to even remember which one of you played first. I think you probably did, or maybe they did because I don't know. Anyway, so it's at IPO Chicago, and there was this young up and coming Christian band called Reliant K. And they did some really cool Christian pop songs. And, they were great. I don't care, I don't care what the lyrics are, as long as they're not, generally offensive to any groups. I said, yeah, let's bring them in. And, the people who are handling them are really nice. And, they walk in, and these are all Christian kids, and they're in with their Christian friends and presumably Christian parents.
And weren't they like 17 or 18 years old too? They were kids, right?
If that, yeah.
Yeah.
They were definitely teenagers. And meanwhile, Piper Downs has their merch out, and so when this band brings their merch in, they having to take a gander at yours. And what was the one about the T-shirt?
The T-shirt said, "The Piper Downs fucked my mama, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt."
Yikes!
And then at that once I saw them looking at that shirt with just daggers in their eyes, I said, "What the hell did I do here?" Because it just didn't occur to me. I don't know why I put you guys on the same bill. I don't know if it was it probably wasn't a stylistic thing. It may have just been a scheduling thing, but it never occurred to me there'd be a problem. And then you guys go up. Yeah, you must have been after before them, because they would have walked out otherwise. Yeah, I mean, first you do the song "Cold Day in Hell," and I was watching the parents then, and the daggers were just like shooting like a wellspring, and then you did. Why am I forgetting the name of the song with 1, 2, fuck you in it?
Well, 1, 2, fuck you is "Cold Day in Hell."
Oh, that's right. It's "Cold Day in Hell," and when you got to that part, at this point you knew what was going on. So when you got to that part, you said 1, 2, and then Garner just played a riff that sounded like "fuck you," but you didn't say it.
Oh wow! See,
at that point you knew, huh? That was that was like, oh my god.
Well,
needless to say, Reliant K never played IPO again, but they actually did go on to be very, very well known in the Christian world.
And they were terrific. They had a couple pop singles too, right? I mean, I think they had a couple top 100.
No, they did. They did. I mean, I love their stuff. And back at that time, one of the cool things about doing IPO early on, and you guys both can attest to this, is there were a lot of Warped Tour type bands that were still worshiping the ground Green Day walked on. And there were, I consider Green Day to be a power pop band, at least most of their stuff. It's faster. I mean, no, it doesn't sound like Badfinger or the Raspberries, but it's got the same structures. It's got the verses and the hooks. And yeah, it's played faster and louder, but essentially those songs are power pop songs. And there were a lot of bands out there early on, late 90s or early new millennium, who were still doing that kind of stuff. And a lot of them were very young. So we were getting a lot of young bands at IPO who were doing, again, I love that sound as well. They were doing that Warped Tour sound. And so Reliant K was just one of many that were doing it. And those days are long gone, unfortunately. I'm gonna have to change it to what was it? IHHO if I want to have young bands in International Hip Hop Overthrow.
Oh yeah,
that's the only way I'm getting them. But there's still a few. Every now and then we get one that hasn't been snarfed up by somebody, by an agent or something, and we get them before that happens. But yeah, it's so few and far between now, as I'm sure you know.
Well, speaking of Cold Day in Hell, you did give me a great joy last year at IPO, David, when I booked the Bobby Bognar plays the Piper Downs songs.
Yes.
I was like, oh, these songs aren't getting played anymore, and I miss them. So I'm going to do a set at IPO of all Piper Downs songs. And Lisa, you don't know this because you're on the East Coast, but my 15-year-old son came up to close out with us, and it was his first time on stage playing, and we played Cold Day in Hell. And his favorite part was screaming out the 1, 2, fuck you, obviously. But it was really lovely. I kept it as a surprise for my wife and my folks who came out to see the show. And Max comes out there and killed it. The last one.
I'm sure I got a video of that. I'm sure. That was a nice moment. I too appreciated it. Let's play another song from the new album. I have. Here's one of my favorites on here, called "Get Out." And another really immediate track that you wrote. So let's let everybody hear.
Put those hooks up front. Put the hook up front.
Hook up front. There's no intro. It just goes right into it. So here we go from And Then Some, Get Out.
Get out of my head, get out of my head, get out. station. Who cares about the minor scales? Broadcast from every location. 145 minor 6 never fails. Get out of my head, get out of my head, get out. Get out of my head, get out of my head, get out. It's not the words you wrote, it's the hook that keeps us coming around. So get out of my head, get out of my head, get out. Get out, get out. Every singer tells a story. All are more melodic than mine. I couldn't care less why you wrote it. Just count it off and play it one more time. Get out of my head, get out of my head, get out. Get out of my head, get out of my head, get out. It's not the heart you broke, it's the hook that keeps us coming around.
Right.
So get out of my head, get out of my head, get out. Everything in 4/4, never more than 4 chords. You'll always sound hardcore. This is what you're waiting for. Get out of my head, get out of my head, get out. Get out, get out, get out. Get out of my head, get out of my head, get out. Get out, get out, get out. Get out of my head, get out of my head, get out. Get out, get out, get out. Get out of my head, get out of my head, get out. Get out, get out.
Sing that.
That's a power pop song as far as I'm
No.
concerned.
Your
That
show
one doesn't.
must be
It's
so-
definitely a bit different from Piper Downs. Go, what, Lisa? Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, so much energy. The shows must be just insane.
I love the shows. I just got to tell you, I love the shows. I didn't know if I'd get that same kind of live thing back from the Piper Downs, but we sure did. The live shows are great. You know, that song is it's called Get Out because Ian, I saw him play at the Cinema Bar. He was in this punk band called Get Out, and his songs
Wow.
were so good, and he was so good. And I walked up to him afterwards and I said, "Hey, I'm trying to do this thing. Any interest in, just you don't know me, but I'm going to send you some songs and tell me what you think about them." And his songs were so hooky and so great. And so I went home and I wrote Get Out about that band, Get Out, to kind of help him come over to my side and help him.
That's magic. That's magic.
That was quite the solo in that song.
Oh yeah. Well,
And I gotta say something else, ladies. Ian is ripped.
oh yeah. So
Yeah, he took
no-
his shirt off. He took his shirt off that at your record
No
release.
kidding. Every show we play, some woman comes up to me afterwards and says, "Is Ian single? Is he seeing anybody?" Like every show, it's crazy.
Nice.
Yeah,
Is he single
he is single, ladies.
Ah.
or gentleman? Hey, I might switch teams.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, no, I just know he's not into that. But no, you know,
Oh, okay.
but no,
Darn.
the other 4 of us are married, but Ian's still single, and makes the most of it. Let me tell you that.
Well, he should. If I ever looked like that, I would. But
I know. You know, one of my favorite little things in that song, and there's no way anyone picks up on it, so I'm just going to put it into a podcast with David Bash. I've got this lyric in there that goes, what's the point of modulations? Who cares about the minor scales? 1, 4, 5, minor 6 never fails, right? So because, G, C, D, E minor, that's always the winner. But instead of going to the minor 6th, I went to the major 7th, and it just tickles me every time I play it.
as a non-musician who wants to remain ignorant of all that stuff, simply because I want songs to hit me viscerally,
Yeah.
I had no idea that you did any of that.
Again, no one cares about it. It just tickles me, you know?
Oh, I'm sure other musicians might, but who knows? So let me ask you this: what do you want? What do you want people to get from this album, and what do you think the future holds?
Oh, shit, I wish I knew what the future held, David. I really do. Here's what I want them to get. I want them to get some joy. That's what I want them to get. I want them to hear a song. One of those 8 songs hopefully resonates with them enough that they play it a few more times and maybe share it with someone else, you know, and that it means something to them. You know, I've been lucky enough to have a handful of songs throughout my career that have meant something to people, where they've used it at their wedding, or they've used it in a movie they made, or they've covered it, you know. And so, you know, what I tell my kid all the time is, don't be a musician unless you need to be a musician, right? Because I can't have expectations for the album, right? All I can do is do my best, put it out there, and hope that it resonates with people. And that's, you know, that comes with age too. When I was 26, I sure as fuck wasn't saying that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so what do I hope to get out of it? I hope I get some new fans. We're talking with some people about some soundtrack placements, which would be just fantastic. We've had some, you know, I've had some of those in the past. They make a huge difference. You know, no one buys physical media anymore. So even though we do sell the vinyls and the CDs, it's on all the streaming platforms. So hopefully it'll get out there. But truly my goal for Handsome is to have this joyful expression that I've had for the last 30 years with other acts continue on. And, you know, I'm 54 and I feel great. The shows are great. The album's getting good reviews. People like Handsome. So hopefully we get to keep doing it for a while, because, you know, eventually you can't. Eventually there will be a day where I can't do it. But as long as I love it, I'm going to keep doing it.
I think that will be many years.
Thank you, David.
I'm sure it'll be many years to come. What would you say, out of all the things you've done, both musically and otherwise, what would you say the biggest honor that has been bestowed upon you?
Well, when I was 18, I was named Outstanding Catholic Youth. I kind of left that behind a little bit, but that was a huge honor. Look, I mean, being on a TV show that reached 1.5 million people at the first episode and then has not been off the air since, from which I still get fan mail every week, literally. Fan mail.
Wow.
Every week. I went to my kid's open house last week at his high school, and the teacher said to me, I recognize this name, Bobby Bognar. Did you host a food TV show? And I said, yeah. And she said, I used to play that for my health students, you know? So it's like,
oh my God.
And she's not the first teacher that told me that, but it just happened last week. And, you know, that was a show from years and years ago. So the fact that that had such resonance was excellent. When anyone uses one of my songs for any purpose other than just listening to it, whether it's them covering it or using it in a show or something like that, that's a huge honor to me. That makes me feel great. So yeah, I mean, but in terms of like actual accolades, being named the best unsigned band in America is a double-edged sword, and we got named it. You know, Hard Rock Cafe said we were the best unsigned band in America. That's why we got to go down to Cabo Wabo. Musician Magazine named us one of the top 100 unsigned bands. And so we always joked, you know, we just can't get a deal. You know, we just couldn't get a deal. We were pulling more people than most bands. We were touring. We were putting out quality product, you know, but it never got to the next level. But those accolades made me feel like I was doing the right thing, whether or not I was making $1 million checks, you know.
As well they should. I mean,
you know, you get a $5,000 check and you go, oh, $5,000. Oh, yeah, take that.
No, I mean, you know, when the Piper Downs, when you were in your heyday, I mean, the industry had already started changing, AKA imploding. And, you know, as I'm sure you well know, the motivation for label signing bands, sometimes music is like maybe 6th or 7th on the list. Right.
Yeah.
So the fact that you guys didn't get signed is no, yeah, it casts no aspersions on your music whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's a business, and especially now, older, I understand it way more. You know, I understand it way more, and then so you have to get the joy out of it that you can, right? So if you've got the orange, you want to eat the orange, you want to get the juice, you want to get it all out of there, right? It's like otherwise it's not of value. So I mean, just like one of the things that really honored me was a singer-songwriter named Danny Hamilton covered At Least for a While, which is one of the few ballads I've ever written in my life. And he recorded a music video for it and then ended up winning a video award for Best Country Music Video of that year, like 2 or 3 years ago. So he won an award for a video with my song, and I was honored. I was honored. You know,
that's wonderful.
So like that was a real joy for me too. But I get joy when people come up to me and go, "Oh my God, I loved Get Out. Oh my God, I loved Hail." You know, I mean, that means a lot to me. That
Sure.
anything I've done creates a positive memory for someone artistically.
Yeah. Well, as a non-musician, you know, I can't entirely relate. However, you may or may not know about this, but probably the greatest honor I'll ever receive took place last year in Liverpool. It was our 20th year of doing IPO, and I had no idea this was going to happen, but they did this for me.
I didn't know you didn't know, Dave. That's way more awesome. I knew that you were on it, but I didn't know that.
I had no idea that this was going to happen, yeah, they. I don't know if you can. No, I guess you can't see it in this picture, but my brick is right to the left of the Cavern Pub door.
Oh,
so everyone who goes in there is going to see it. And to the left of my brick is Clem Burke, R.I.P.
Oh, yeah.
Below my brick, right there, is Little Steven. So they gave me an amazing spot. And yeah, I don't think I'll ever get anything. I mean, we're not going to get on a Hollywood Walk of Fame, and honestly, I'd rather be on the Cavern Wall than the Hollywood Walk of Fame anyway. So, I mean,
I remember my guitar at the Hard Rock Cafe was right next to Jimmy Page, and I thought, I've never seen such a juxtaposition of great guitar player and Bobby Bognar. You know, it's like, oh, okay.
I think that, I mean, that has to be up there with some of your greatest honors.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I should have thought of that, because that's truly an honor. It's just not up right now. I mean, that's the frustrating part. They have it as part of their permanent collection. You can go and browse it online, and it'll be listed in there, but it's not hanging up. So I need to get it hung up before I die.
Well, let's hope that happens.
Just follow up with them, right?
Yep.
What?
Is it up yet?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you so much, both of you. Thank you so much for joining me today on Material Issues.
It's so nice to see you again, Bobby.
I've missed you. It's great to see you, Lisa. I see David more often, so it's less exciting, but I'm thrilled to see you today.
It should be less exciting anyway, but yeah. No, and it's great to see you too, Lisa. It's been a little while, and hopefully you guys will come back out to LA. Would love to see you and Tom and the kids. Would certainly love to have a Waking Hours or any kind of show at IPO anywhere. So, or whatever configuration you're in. But we'll talk about that another time.
Definitely.
Anytime you're in LA, let me know, and we'll get you up on a Handsome show. I'd love to have you on a Handsome show.
There you go. Well, we're gonna take things out with another song on the album called One Step Closer, and this one's a little bit different than the two that I played, but it shows your versatility as a singer and songwriter.
Well, if you're gonna play this one, David, I need to tell you a story.
Please do.
So one of my bucket list items is writing a musical, and I've written about 5 songs for this musical already, and this is actually one of them. So it sounds different because it is a different thing. And before I die, you'll see my musical.
That's wonderful. Again, Bobby Bognar, true Renaissance man. And, I wish you the best of luck with the album and with every other endeavor that you take part in. And so thank you both. Lisa, Bobby, thank you so much for joining me. And we're going to wind things up here with One Step Closer by Bobby Bognar's Handsome, the new album, and then some. Buy it, everybody. That's right. Here we go.
All waiting for the change we hope will us all. Each day closer to the door, you're bracing for a fall. And every lousy inch feels like a fucking mile. You dig for every ounce there is to get, and it takes a while. But at the end of every day you've tried, take time and smile. You're one step closer, one step closer, one step closer. We all hope this final notice finally makes a change. Don't back down, 'cause now you've found how much of you remains. And every lousy inch feels like a fucking mile. You dig for every ounce there is to get, and it takes a while. At the end of every day you've tried, take time and smile. 'Cause you're one step closer, one step closer, one step closer, one step closer. Every time you don't give in, you win. Every time you don't give in, you win. Every time you don't give in, you win. So don't give in. No, don't give in. And every lousy inch feels like a fucking mile. You dig for every ounce there is to get, and it takes a while. But at the end of every day you've tried, take time and smile. 'Cause you're one step closer, one step closer, one step closer, one step closer.
Thanks so much, David.
That's really beautiful. Unfortunately, in my life, I've heard more than once "one lousy inch" in a different context. But what are you going to do?
Only David Bash.
Anyway,
I'm like almost on the verge of tears.
I could definitely see you guys playing that song, and a crowd that had been just totally into it, hyper, suddenly gets quiet. And you know, and to me, that's always a testament to a great singer-songwriter, that especially if they're up there solo, when they play, you know, and if they followed a band, especially when they play, that people just shut up. That's how, you know, when that happens at IPO, I always love it, and I almost always comment on it when the band's done playing, but or the artist is done playing. But anyway, Bobby, Lisa, thank you so much for joining me.
And Bobby, thank you for mentioning BobbyBognar.com.
Yes.
Thank
you. Oh, I should have done that. Mark Hershberger would have had that scrolling on the bottom, but I don't know how to do it. So.
Yeah, me neither. I was looking and I was like,
BobbyBognar.com. Can people buy the record there?
Sure can. Yep.
Where Bandcamp?
They can get it on Apple. They can get it directly through me. But streaming it, yeah. And come to a show. Come to Bobby Bognar's Handsome May 31st at the Viper Room.
Oh, there you go. I'll be in Liverpool for when that happens. But I hope you have a wonderful show. And well, I know you will. I don't even have to hope that. And again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again soon, I hope.
I hope so too. Have a great night, you two. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you. Mwah. All right. So that was Bobby Bognar joining us, and Lisa Mychols as well. I'm just going to talk about some of the upcoming shows we have. coming up next week. Well, next week I'll be in Chicago, and I'm still trying to figure out what we're going to do because the time that we air intersects with about the time we're winding up IPO Chicago that day. So maybe we'll move it an hour later. If we do, it'll just be me and Mark, and I'll play some songs I didn't get to play last time, and like that. So it should be fun. On May 4th, when the day I come back from Chicago, we will have archivist, musician, author, liner note writer, jack of all trades, Andrew Sandoval, probably the biggest monkeys expert in the entire world, and he's curated several monkeys projects. So we'll talk to him about all of those things as well as the books that he's put together. On May 11th, this will be a big thrill for me. Pardon me, I'm getting nervous just thinking about it. We will have the main man of one of my favorite bands of all time, and definitely my favorite band ever to come out of Scandinavia. That would be Beagle. And the gentleman we will have on the show is Magnus Börjesson, lead singer, songwriter of Beagle. And if you've never gotten the albums Sound on Sound or Within, check them out. Well, I don't know if they're both on Spotify, but I know Sound on Sound is. Definitely check it out. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous pop album. And it'll be right in a lot of people's wheelhouse. So Beagle, like the dog. Magnus Börjesson from Sweden will be joining us on May 11th. We're going to have to change the hour for that one because if we don't, he'll have to be awake at like 2 or 3 a.m. And we don't want that. That's not really fair. Coming up the following week, May 18th, we have a great husband and wife team, both of whom had achieved fame in their previous bands. John Cowsill, I'm sure you can guess which band that was, and Vicky Peterson, of course, lead guitarist, singer-songwriter of the Bangles. And they have a brand new album out, which I thought I had here in front of me. I don't, but it's really beautiful. It's a country album, and it's songs written by John's siblings, Barry and Bill and Barry Cowsill in their respective projects. John and Vicky, or Vicky and John, I should say, that's the proper order, give those songs new life. So I believe the album's called Long After the Fire, and it came out on Record Store Day on vinyl, and has this past Friday come out on CD. So that's what we have so far. And of course, we have Irons in the Fire. We'll be in Liverpool on the 25th of May and June 1st. Both Sundays we'll have IPO shows. We might do something a little bit different, but we'll certainly appear live twice from the Cavern Club in Liverpool. So we've got that and a lot more to look forward to. So again, everyone, I hope you had a great Easter, and I thank you so much for joining us, and have a great rest of the week. And Mark and I will see you next week. Mark from his home in New Jersey, and me from somewhere in Chicago. So again, thank you so much. Have a great time. Bye-bye.